It is March 9th, 2023. This is the regular first quarter meeting of 2023 of the Delaware County Land Reutilization Corporation, which is also commonly known as Land Bank. Just FYI, Michelle, we stream it and record the minutes.
Okay.
So we have an electronic version rather than everybody scribbling a whole bunch of notes and then everybody having to read them. We keep an electronic version. So speaking of that, I did want to formally acknowledge our newest Land Bank board member, Michelle Bonney from Orange Township. Welcome, Michelle, and great to have you on board. Land Bank's been doing a lot of things, and we've been getting a lot done, so it's really been really neat. So anyway, feel free to, we run it pretty casually, pretty informally. Just feel free to speak up anytime there any actions we do record,
Okay.
take votes, obviously, and Sarah then puts those actions in the minutes in addition to the electronic recording. But anyway, welcome.
Thank you.
And glad to have you on board. Okay, so speaking of minutes, that is the next item on the agenda, and that is approving the electronic record of the proceedings and minutes from meetings held December 21st, 2022 and January 27th, 2023. So those minutes were distributed. I don't know if anybody had any comments or changes. Again, they're both electronically recorded, so the only written minutes are the motions.
Move approval of both sets of minutes as submitted.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
I'll abstain.
Okay, yeah, Michelle wasn't on the board then technically, so, okay, so that takes care of the minutes. First item of real important business is the insurance discussion. We've got Brian Smith from SFM Insurance here today, who's been with us from day one, I think he has. Yeah.
Yes,
So,
since the beginning of the land bank.
so anyway, I invited Brian because we're adding a couple policies potentially, and renewing a couple. And so, again, we're getting more active with the demolition grants and now the one brownfield grant. So that does bring in a few new wrinkles, which we need to address from a risk management standpoint. So I'll turn it over to Brian to walk us through the proposals for insurance for the coming year.
Sounds good, thank you. I believe you have in your packets two proposals. The first one is the general liability and umbrella, and then the second one is the directors and officers insurance. The general liability renews in March 24th. Actually, we're in the middle of 3-year rate guarantee policies, so there's no change in premium from this year, from last year to this year. So premium stayed the same. Now, however, on the general liability policy, we are adding subcontractor costs as of March 24th because of the work your guys are going to be doing on the Sunny V property. So we did add $200,000 of subcontractor cost, which did increase the premium over last year, but it's because we have we've had an additional coverage added. So no change in coverages. So just as a quick brief overview, you have $1 million of general liability coverage, and then we have a $1 million umbrella on top of that. So giving you ultimately $2 million of coverage in any one claim or incident. The premium last year was, let me get to that, $1,469, and again, that's what we would have had the renewal at for the anniversary date. However, we did add the subcontractor cost, so it did increase the premium $1,597, so total of $3,066. Once you stop doing work, if this is the only project we do this year, once that is over, then the $200,000 gets removed. So we are going to have that cost recurring unless you have recurring subcontractor costs. So the more active you get, the more costs that we have there.
Yeah, at this point, Brian, we don't know of anything beyond the Sunny V. Certainly doesn't mean anything couldn't come, but right now there's nothing in the pipeline.
Very good. And then we also have the directors and officers policy, which also is under a 3-year rate guarantee, and that is a May 15th anniversary date. We have $2 million of coverage for the directors and officers. That is as a whole, so not per director and officer. We did increase that a couple years ago from $1 million to $2 million, and that premium stayed the same at $2,477.
And how much is that? 643?
It is $2,477 for the directors and officers. One thing you guys did approve back in August, but we did not add coverage because the grant money had not come in yet, is the employee dishonesty coverage for $550,000. So when that money starts coming in or you start using that, we can add that coverage at any time.
Yeah, I think we're at the point where that money is gonna come here real soon. So I think we do need to, now that, how much was the premium on that?
So that is $542 per year.
Yeah, yeah. There again, I know the city of Delaware's finished its demolition of its 2 properties, and the others are getting there, almost there. So I think, at this point, we'll start getting reimbursements here very soon from
Okay.
DOD. So I think we do need to put that in. I would recommend we do that. So $550,000 of coverage, $542 premium.
That is correct.
And that's for a year?
That would be for the year,
Okay.
yes. So we'll just add it to either the general liability policy or the directors and officers policy.
Okay.
So the total we're being asked to approve today is, do you have a total?
For the directors and officers would be $2,477, and then $3,066 for the general liability policy. And then adding the $542 in we'll put that on the general
So
liability
it'll be
policy.
real close to $6,000,
Yeah,
which I think is pretty close to what we had in the
6,085, I
budget.
think I just added that.
Thank you.
So, just so we're all on the same page, could you give us a total of those?
I can.
Yeah,
Well,
I
let
need
me-
to, I'm gonna dig out the budget, make sure we don't have a budget issue.
If I can find my calculator. $6,085. Is that?
That's what I
it
had,
is?
yes.
Okay.
Is that what you're,
Yes,
It's always good to double check.
it is.
All right, I just want to just double check the budget to make sure we don't have a budget issue with that line item. If I can find it. Anybody have the budget at their fingertips?
I didn't bring it with me.
I know I got it here somewhere.
Brian, while he's looking, will you invoice those separately to us?
They will be under 2 different
Okay,
invoices. yes.
perfect. Okay, thank you.
All right, where is the budget? I don't think that's, yeah. I know we approved the budget in
Is it
late in December, or late in the year.
Karen,
No,
could you?
I got it,
Okay, yeah.
there it is. I knew I had it, 'cause I looked at it earlier. The budget line item for insurance is, yeah, it's low. It's 2477 and 1469, the 2 existing
Right,
policies.
exactly.
So we'll need to make a budget adjustment as well to include the $542 and the $1596.
I believe it is 1596. 1597.
1597, okay.
So the total amount was $6,085, right?
That's correct.
And the budget was how much?
Budget is, it's 2 different lines. It's 3,946. So we have 3,946 budgeted, but we need to approve 6,085.
85.
So if my math is right, $2,139, did you do the math?
Nope, I did not,
You
I
didn't
did
do
not
that.
subtract it yet.
6,085 is what the total premium is. We budgeted 3,946.
Yeah,
If my math is right, the difference is $2,139.
That's what I have, 3,039, yep.
So
Okay.
you want a motion to
Yeah.
raise the budget?
yeah, we need a motion to adjust the budget and then another motion to approve the payment of.
I'll make a motion, we adjust the budget for insurance in those categories by $2,139, so our total will be $6,085.
Got that, Sarah?
How much was the amount? Sorry. I had 3,039, but that.
Sorry, I'm sorry, Gary, I had 3,039 for an increase.
Okay, you said the budget was 3,946?
Yeah, that's what was budgeted.
Right.
And I think that's the two invoices, D&O and general liability, the
Okay.
existing.
Correct. The numbers you provided were the
Right.
premiums
So
last year.
if the total is $6,085, and we have budget $3,946,
Which is those two invoices.
that would leave, by my math, $2,139. Am I wrong?
This is what I get too.
Is that what you got? Dave?
And the budget amount is in two line items, Mr. Chairman, the total
Right.
is 3946.
Right.
Okay, I have that now, sorry.
You got it?
Mhm.
Okay.
So we have a motion by Mr. Merrill. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Okay. Michelle's seconding it. All right, so that's to change the budget. Any further discussion?
Did we vote? Okay, I'm sorry.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, we got the budget approved, now we'll approve the invoices.
Okay,
So we have the 4 invoices totaling $6,085 for the various coverages, and I would entertain a motion to that effect.
I'll move to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Michelle. Okay, any further discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. We are, that should take care of it.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, Brian, thank
Questions
you.
you have, just let me know.
Thanks.
Okay,
Thanks.
okay, we got the insurance, and that's, again, we're doing some different things, so we need some different coverages, and I appreciate Brian coming today. All right, so next on the agenda is the treasurer's report, which I think is gonna be pretty short.
It's pretty short. Our beginning balance from January 2023 was $158,779.63. There was no checks written in January or February, so our ending balance in February was the same number, $158,779.83, or 63, excuse me.
Okay. All right.
If you need a motion for the treasurer's report?
I don't think so. So I think we're done with that part. Now we need to actually approve paying the various bills. We've already approved the SFM insurance. So we've got 3 others to pay. We've got bill for our attorney, Scott Gordon, $3,937.50. And his itemized invoice was included in the packet, so I don't know if anybody had any questions. This is for service through the end of the year. No, through February 7th, okay.
Do we want to approve the treasurer's report, or not? Do you want a motion for that?
I don't think we need to.
Okay,
but-
just want to make sure.
Okay. So any questions, comments about Scott's not here. If anybody had any questions, we could certainly wait to ask him.
I just, quick question, to refresh my memory. Did we not authorize payment of some of these at the last meeting? Some of the ones going back into, looks like November and
That's a
stuff.
good point.
I feel like maybe we did, but
Let's see. I don't think we did anything at the February meeting. That was strictly on the grants. I don't,
Karen, do you have any recollection of us, want you a check for you?
yeah, I don't see anything in the minutes.
I don't think we did, but
I don't think we did either.
okay.
Yeah, I know he submitted his invoice, and we had a discussion about it.
Maybe that's what I'm.
Yeah, we submitted it
recalling.
for the financial statements.
Maybe that's what I'm recalling.
Yeah.
No, I mean, either way, I'm not worried, but we're not gonna pay the same bill twice.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Sarah, when was the last time we paid Scott? I assume you have a checkbook.
According to the check register, it was on December 21st.
December 21st? What was the amount of that?
So that might have been the first.
Oh, here it is. It is in here. Pay Scott Gordon $1,518.75.
December 21st?
Yeah, it was in the December 21st minutes.
I'm wondering if some of these are probably
Yeah,
included.
might be. That's a good point. Yeah,
Karen went to check.
yep. Well, we should have a copy of that invoice. Okay, well, Karen's looking it up. We'll go on to the other two invoices we need to approve.
If you said Scott's come, we could wait to do that when he gets here.
Yeah, that's true. Payment to Julian and Group for preparation of the basic financial statements. They did a compilation of the land bank financial statements that was the basis for submission to the Hinkle system. And that write-up was $1,000. And it's also, I think, the basis for the auditor's review of those statements. So anyway, copy of the invoice is in there. I think that's the same that we paid last year. Justin, you weren't around, but yeah.
Am I going crazy?
So, yeah, go ahead and, yeah, speak at the microphone there.
Karen First, I'm the fiscal manager for the Board of Commissioners. The last invoice for Scott Gordon is dated 11/17. It was for services 8/22 to 10/28, and that was approved in the December meeting to be paid.
Okay,
So that's the
so it
15.
isn't,
Yeah,
Okay.
it isn't an overlap then?
okay. Does
Because
anybody
this
want
one
copies of
starts
it?
This is all new bill, the $3,937.50 is all.
Yep,
New
yep,
stuff, yes.
starts on November 21st.
Okay.
Good,
Thank you.
good point, good catch, good question to ask. Okay, so we can go forward with, we'll just double back on Scott's bill. I don't know if anybody had any questions beyond that now that we've resolved there isn't overlap. I'd entertain a motion to approve the invoice from Scott Gordon.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, next on the approval is the payment to Julian Group, which we've discussed. Again, it is $1,000 for the compilation, which is the financial statements that will be audited by, well, actually, it's Ray and Associates this year, so,
I move to pay the $1,000 to Julian Group.
okay.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, last one is the payment to the City of Delaware for grant administration costs. Just kind of, I don't know, editorial comment. I think Diane, and, well, I know she's had other folks helping her, but Jerry Warner in particular, but Diane's done an outstanding job of documenting, really getting all the townships, the City of Delaware, or the City of Sunbury, through the City of Powell, through this process, and it's just moving along. City of Delaware's finished their demolition work.
Not quite closed out, but yeah.
Yeah,
the
it's
buildings are
not
done.
closed out, but, and again, what Diane has tracked and submitted is a bill for $2,093, and she's itemized all her time, and again, she's done a marvelous job of doing this, and this is through December 31st of 2022. Now, again, we put $50,000 in the budget for administration of the various grants. I know she's done a lot more work, obviously, this year, but I think I don't think we'll get to the $50,000, but that's okay. Again, she's done an outstanding job. So anyway, everybody should have received the invoice. I'd be glad to entertain a motion or ask if anyone has any questions. Otherwise, I would.
I'll
entertain a
move
motion.
to pay the $2,093 to the City of Delaware for the grant administration costs.
Okay,
Second.
second. Dave, are you going to abstain?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And Mr. Effeland is going to abstain.
Correct.
Okay, and again, our thanks to Diane. I know she's not going to be participating in today's call, or today's meeting directly, but she did submit an update on the material. But again, she's just done an outstanding job. Okay, the land bank, the next item is a webinar that I participated in, watched, put on by a Mr. Harris, Jeff Harris, who is with Bricker and Eckler, and he's a specialist in land banks and other authorities like that. But it was interesting. It was like an hour long, and it was a webinar, like I said, and it was put together by the Ohio Land Bank Association, which we're a member of. And it was interesting because he just went through the legal background of land banks and their mission and what different land banks are doing. There were a couple topics that I thought he mentioned that were pretty interesting. One is prevailing wage. Land banks are not required to pay prevailing wage on their work that they do. And so I immediately thought, well, how about if we started to use the land bank to contract to do buildings and roads and so on? And he said, no, if it's got public money in it, you can't do prevailing wage. So I said, darn. And then the other topic that he brought up that I thought was interesting and we could pursue potentially someday, but another one of those sensitive topics, and that is, he said that land banks aren't required to pay property taxes, which we know. But he said no one has actually created a situation where a land bank owned a property and then leased it to a for-profit organization just to avoid paying property taxes, just to have that for-profit organization avoid paying property taxes. And he said, technically it may be allowable under the statute, but
I'm not sure it's appropriate.
yeah,
Good luck.
yeah. Everybody was kind of looking at each other like, yeah.
The goal is to get them back on the tax rate.
Right. So anyway, that was one of those other interesting topics. And sovereign immunity is available. Sales tax exemption is available for land bank purchases if we ever get into that. These are things I think we've heard about before, and the property tax exemption and acquiring properties lien-free and so on. But again, interesting seminar. And we move on to the foreclosure update. We've got, again, we get a monthly foreclosure update from the prosecutor's office. That was sent out. There were 4 items on the foreclosure list that they're actively working as of February 21st. And this is interesting. It's fairly typical from what we've seen over the years as the land bank has worked with the treasurer's office to process, to try to collect delinquent taxes and in some cases initiate a foreclosure. Of the 4, the first one, they're moving through the process. Second one, the taxes were paid and the foreclosure dismissed. Same with the third one, taxes were paid and the foreclosure dismissed. The fourth one is a property in Whispering Ridge Road in Galena. That's $33,000 of back taxes due, and that's set for sheriff's sale next week. So this is kind of typical of what we've seen in foreclosures, which is the primary source of potential property ownership for the land bank. And most of them get settled before they go to sheriff's sale. And so anyway, just FYI, the one property that is set, we'll know next week if it receives bidders, which we'll see. Typically they do. They get a lot of bidders. Okay, foreclosure update, demolition grant update. Again, thanks to Diane, we have in the package, we should have received a foreclosure or demolition grant update. That's the invoice.
I think we completed that, Mr. Chairman, after the agenda went out, so we can follow back up. And make sure everybody's got it.
Yeah, I have it. I know
Did
I
you
saw
have
it.
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's
I have
the
it.
ODOD building demolition site revitalization.
You had it?
I have it in the packet.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I missed it.
Yep.
don't.
And on page 4 of her very detailed, again, she keeps great track of this stuff. On March 2nd, 2023, demolition bids are due February 10th for the city of Sunbury. Request status bid award and breakdown, actual bids as compared to so on. So Sunbury is moving along. City of Powell, same thing, demolition bids were due February 3rd, and she's working with them to get the detail of how they're progressing. She has been working, I know Jerry has been working as well with Scioto Township.
Yep.
Because they have some unique property they're trying to demolish, and they had to go through the asbestos testing project, so they're doing that. But again, she's done a great job of documenting it. I don't know if you know anything beyond that, Dave?
No, I think everybody's making really good progress now on their various projects, and Scioto Township did initially think that, the initial budget for estimating purposes for the grant, they thought there might have been some more impactful remediation that would have to be required, but with additional review and asbestos testing, that does not turn out to be the case, so that's good. And it does
Okay.
appear that, the one point I wanted to bring up to the board, it does appear that, we had anticipated in this bidding environment, I guess last year, we had anticipated in this bidding environment that it would, could be difficult and very expensive for some of these or all of these projects. And it appears so far that the demolition bids are maybe coming back a little bit lower than we had anticipated. So that's good. They're not done yet, so things can change, obviously. But
Sure.
I think there will be a couple of adjustments in different light items for the different grants that'll have, Diane will submit back to the state.
Yeah, I saw that in her notes.
Yeah, and I'll certainly have her provide, more detail to us into what those are, but it's unclear to us yet whether Department of Development will allow us, if there are sufficient funds remaining, to entertain any other projects. Obviously, I think we made a wide call, and I think we ended up advancing all the projects we got back
Yes, we did.
initially,
Yep,
so. But, though, keep that on the radar scope. We need them to say it's okay to do that. We need to see what might be left, if anything, at the end of these projects, but they're all advancing, as is the Brownfield project for Sunny V,
Right.
which there's been a lot more detailed work between Jerry and Diane and that property owner. Additional asbestos testing, coordination with OEPA and ODOD. It doesn't look like they can leave the historic windows in place, which is it's good from a historic preservation perspective, but it's very good for I know the property owners are appreciative, because replacing all of those would have been extremely costly. But it took a lot of coordination, so.
Yeah. So just bring us up to date on the demolition on Spring Street, the two projects, the two buildings.
Little addition by subtraction down there.
Yeah.
So the
I've
building.
driven by, it looks
The buildings
good.
the buildings are down. I think we're generally happy with the contractor's efforts. They still have to finish some work, seating and straw, stuff like that, and maybe some fill and just some ancillary things. But the buildings are down. We did have a lot of coordination with them. Obviously, it's a busy street, businesses, to make sure that they were cognizant of that, and they responded well. So, hopefully in the next few weeks, we'll be able to close that one out and move along.
Good deal,
So,
yeah. It's interesting how it opened up that street.
Yeah,
And you can see Hamilton Williams a whole lot better, and the hillside, and
for the moment, yeah.
for the moment, yeah. And ultimately, obviously, the goal all along has been to get a project in there, ideally a hotel. I know there's been a lot of discussion on that.
Yeah,
but,
and that's very complex, and field
It is
development's complex, so, I think temporarily there may be, we'll see, need to close out this grant and finish this. We were using a portion of it, for parking, the parking lot they had in there before, and we may use part of this, or we have some property in the city of Delaware across the street we may use as well. There's always a call for parking in downtown. But ultimately, the goal would be to redevelop the site at this point.
Right.
continue to work that complex infill projects.
I know. I know, and I know there have been hotel discussions, and that would be, that would be a very good use, of that property and a good location, so.
I think location's perfect.
Oh, gosh, yes, between Westland and downtown. Yeah. So, again, congratulations. I know that's something you've had on your radar screen for quite a
For a
while.
while, yeah, thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah, interestingly,
The
the
land
city of Delaware bought that property, how long ago? Several years ago, wasn't it?
It's at least a couple of years ago. I'm looking at Justin because I think he was our finance director. Yeah.
Yeah. So good. Nice resolution of the problem property there. Demolition grant update, I don't know, Michelle, you have any questions about this? This is, Orange didn't
I
have
don't
any,
yet.
any projects to submit for this
No.
grant round.
Yeah, we don't-
Like Dave mentioned, there may be some opportunities for future grants in additional phases, but we'll get through this and then see what's available.
I don't have any questions.
Yeah, okay. Brownfield grant update, I think you've given us the latest on the Sunny V property, and that's the only brownfield grant we're working on.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it's in there, Mr. Chairman, but I think the asbestos remediation updated bid
Oh.
was released yesterday, I believe.
Okay, it was mentioned in here that they were going forward with
Yeah,
getting updated bids.
Things change quickly. So it was released yesterday to the three, I believe,
Yeah,
original
the
bidders.
same of the,
So that gives them an opportunity to update their bid to the new asbestos survey. That's due back in a couple weeks or so, and then there'll be a process of reviewing those and getting with every step of the way, we're coordinating with the landowner, obviously. And then as that, hopefully is contracted and the work is done over the course of next couple of months, on a parallel track, I know Diane and Jerry and landowner will be working on, revisions and tweaking of the scope of the demolition bid and advance that so that hopefully, as soon as the abatement is done, we'd be in a position to advance the work on the demolition. So I think it's all very positive.
yeah. Yeah, I did check, we did get approval in the last January meeting, I guess it was, to authorize the chair or vice chair to enter into those contracts.
Yeah, I don't know why that reminds me, but it reminds me that we also ODOD gave us a very limited window of time to extend the grant
Yes,
period.
that is a good point to make.
For
yeah.
both of those grants, which was, we were all kind of worried about that. I think there was some confusion as to whether it was May or June, but that's coming up pretty fast.
Yeah.
So when a granting agency gives you a limited period of time to say, do you think you might want to extend the grant, you just take that opportunity to extend it. And in this case, it may be, we anticipate these advancing and being wrapped up here in the next several months, hopefully. Scioto may take a little bit longer, and Sunny V may take a little bit longer. But then if we are able to and allowed to, and we have some other projects to advance, I think that gives us the timeline to do it. If we get to the end of the year, or near the end of the year, we may need to consider whether we extend the intergovernmental agreement as well. But for
that's
now,
true.
I think
That's
that
true.
goes through the end of the year for grant services. So I don't see any need for action right now.
We did receive formal approval from the ODOD on the brownfield grant extension
And the demo.
and the,
I
right.
can take that.
Brownfield one, it goes to June of '24,
Yeah.
so we're good there.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, thanks to the city of Delaware for their hard work on that. Next is the financial statements. Justin or Karen, if you want to just, everybody should have received a copy of the financials. They're pretty thorough, they're not very complicated.
Correct.
But they're thorough.
Thanks, Commissioner. Justin Navi with Delaware County. Hinkle filing was done a couple weeks ago. We did have a meeting with the auditors from Rand Associates this morning. I don't feel like there's going to be any issues with the audit itself. They did have questions or recommendations of maybe using QuickBooks going forward. Right now, we're doing everything in Excel, so that was one thing that we talked about.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
right.
Yeah, when is the Hinkle filing due? Isn't it at the end of April or end of May?
It's due by the end of April, if I recall, and then the audit has to be done by the end of May.
Okay, okay.
For some reason, on some of these basic financials, you used to have to submit them by the end of February. So I think there's been an extension there, too.
Okay. Yeah, Karen, I did get the request for the confirmation authorization, and I got that process, so they've got what they need to do the confirmations. Yeah, yeah, she sent out another representation letter where I have to answer a bunch of questions. So I'll do that, get through that. But do they know when they're going to start the audit? Have they said anything about that yet?
They're already starting it, Commissioner.
Oh, this is,
Yeah,
they technically started?
I think they'll probably be done in 3 to 4 weeks because there's
Okay.
only, I think, 19 transactions from last
Yeah,
year. And
it's not a complicated audit.
the biggest thing is getting the bank confirmations.
Okay.
So I would expect by probably the end of April at the latest.
Okay,
Great.
okay,
Thank you.
very good. All right, well, thanks to Karen and Justin for all your work on keeping the books clean and the processes followed and audits done, so thank you. That, I think, is about it. We need to set a date and time for our next meeting if we can. We'll reach out to the treasurer's office
Used to
because.
be in April, correct?
Yes, we do have a requirement to have the annual meeting in the month of April. Now, technically, we could extend that if we needed to, but as I think everyone knows, we're required to have at least one meeting every quarter, and therefore, I would suggest probably do it sometime in April.
Are Thursdays the preferred day? Is that?
I'm sorry,
Are
what?
Thursdays the preferred day of the week?
I think so, just because Gary and I are definitely going to be here. And we have our sessions every Thursday morning. 20th, April 20th, 1:30, does that work for everybody?
I can do that.
Monica, or Michelle?
It works for me.
Dave?
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll
Well,
send a
look-
calendar invite,
Yes.
Sarah?
Yeah, let's tentatively set that. Sarah will send a calendar invite
Is
and
that the
hopefully
next meeting or the annual meeting or both?
Both,
Okay.
yeah. All right. Okay, Sarah will take care of the invites.
1:30, I'm assuming.
Yep, 1:30. 1:30 on, can't get this on my calendar. 1:30 on Thursday, April 20th. And we should have, some real good updates on demolition and brownfield at that point, so. And we'll do the annual meeting. The annual meeting is where we elect officers, and that's pretty much it, quite honestly. So, okay. Not to try to make this meeting any longer, but I don't know if anybody had any other business to bring up at this point. Michelle, anything? Welcome.
You're not.
Hopefully the meetings will continue to go smoothly and we won't take up too much of your time, but again, we'll probably, maybe in April, maybe the next meeting, we'll have more information on the next round of grants and, communicate with all the townships, cities, villages, et cetera, and just see if there's some other properties that might be eligible.
Okay.
My understanding of the initial grant was, the initial round was, it was 100% funding of any demolition or brownfield work. The second round is like 75-25, so the local jurisdiction would have to put in some local money. But still, if you get 75% of it done, then that's helpful. Okay. David, anything else?
No, sir.
All right. No further business. Sarah, we stand adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.